So if you just want to introduce yourself, tell me a little bit where you were born, where you grew up.
Grew up in Lumpkin County. I live on Clay Creek Falls Road. Grew up with my grandparents since I was a year and a half old, and he done conjuring, known as faith healing, poison oak, poison ivy, stopping blood, the thrash or the thrust, whichever one you want to call it. And that's how I got interested in it.
Did you witness him healing people as you grew up?
I witnessed poison oak, poison ivy, thrash, which thrash, he didn't actually have to see the person. He just had to have the name, and the next morning when he got up, you couldn't speak to him. He had to go outside and do whatever he had to do.
So it was, I've talked to other people and they said that whenever it was being done, it was kind of like secretive, like they would be taken into a back room or something like that, like it wasn't done in front of everyone.
That is correct. You have to be secretive in another room, and you also can't tell anyone, and you also, if he did this on a person, they couldn't treat it medically. Like if you had poison oak, poison ivy, and they conjured you, you couldn't like go home and put calamine lotion or anything like that on.
Because it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work. And he also did say that if the poison oak or poison ivy like was too far in existence, like running or something, it may not work, and you may need to have to go to the doctor.
Do you have to believe that it will work for it to work?
Yes, you have to believe. It's a faith healing. It's all biblical.
So it comes from the Bible?
Yes.
Because I know a lot of people said that it was a gift from God that God gave to the people.
It is. I would say it would have to be a gift from God, because if it didn't come from the Bible, it wouldn't be biblical, and it wouldn't be a gift from God. And you can only tell 3 people, but you have to be very careful who you tell, because if they get out here and tell it just to anyone, then you lose what you can do.
So if you tell someone and they tell someone, you could lose your own gift.
Yes. If you don't tell, like I can tell 3 people, 3 men, but if I told a woman, then I couldn't do it. Or if I told a woman that got out here and just told anybody, I couldn't do it.
So how do you yourself decide who you can tell?
I have to pray about it, because the guy that taught me had to pray about it. Me and him both had to pray about it, and we both have to get an answer.
Do you kind of tell someone that you've been praying about it, or is it just completely like...
No, I didn't tell anyone. I saw him in church, and I knew that he did it, and I talked to him about it. He said, you pray about it, and I pray about it, and then we'll decide. And then, like, I saw him a week or 2 later, and he said, have you got your answer? And I said, yes. Have you got yours? And he said, yes. And he asked me what mine was, and I said, I think you can tell me. I think it's okay for you to tell me. And he said, that's what my answer was.
How many people do you think you have helped in your lifetime?
I can't say I've helped a lot, because I've only known poison oak, poison ivy for about a year, and recently found about the blood, the burn, and just very few in my short time that I've known him.
So it's something that you can kind of inherit one gift for one thing at a time?
Yes.
It's not all at the same time?
You can, if you can find somebody that knows it all at the same time. I just didn't find anybody that knew it all at the same time. The same person knew different things. And I have also bought Worch too.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Just, do you see a person and you just...
I just see a person and they don't say anything and I don't say anything, and then maybe a month or 2 or whatever, I might say something like what happened to that ward or something like that, or if they mention it, I'll say what happened to it, and they say, I don't know, it just went away.
I know I've talked to people and they said they give them like a penny or a quarter for it.
Yeah, I have give a lady at work. I said, here, take this $1 or 2, and she said, what's that for? I said, just take it. Don't say anything. I don't even tell her why or what. Or.
Do you know any other people now that have the gift too?
Yes, several.
Several?
Yeah.
Do you believe that it is a dying art?
I do believe it's a dying art because it's so secretive. I'm not sure that the generation of today believe it. I'm sure there's people out there that do. It's just hard finding that connection. Like you, I think you're real rare, and I'm really glad that you're interested in it so you can carry it on. It's just finding the people that know.
Do you think there are any sort of traits that a person must have? Like any kind of characteristics?
I do think you have to be a caring person and have like what I call an old soul.
Do you think this, because I know Bryson mentioned that he thought it came from his Cherokee ancestors, his Cherokee Indian ancestors, and I've talked to other people that said they thought it came from the Scotch-Irish ancestry. Do you have any?
I have some Cherokee ancestry in me. I'm not sure about the Scotch-Irish.
Do you have any? Do you think it comes from one or the other?
I would, if I had to guess, I would say more native, but I don't know that much about the Scotch-Irish, so I don't want to say not on that side either.
Do you think this is something that needs to be talked about more, or do you think?
I think it's something that needs to be taught to people more. We don't need to let it, like you said previously, a dying art, because years ago, they didn't have doctors. They had to do what they had to do to get better, to get rid of this, and it's a special kind of healing, and we need to keep that going because we just don't need to let it go.
Is there kind of like a community of healers? Like, is there any communication between people that have the gift, or is it?
Not any special communication that I know of.
So is it something that if somebody were to have something wrong and they needed somebody, how would they find somebody with the gift?
Usually, in the way people has found me is they'll say they may have heard of it, but they really don't know, and then they'll say, well, so and so does this or so and so does that. Call them, And the poison oak, poison ivy can be done over the phone. My grandfather had to see them, but I have been taught that it can be done over the phone.
So there are some gifts that you don't even have to be in the presence of the person to do it.
And that's the same way by blood. You don't have to be in the presence.
That's what I talked to a man who did the blood, and he said that he didn't even have to.
Just the name is all you need to know.